Welcome to our Mother's Day service here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Grand Traverse. Welcome to all those who are in the sanctuary and to those who are streaming us online. You are welcome. You have found a place to look within, to communicate, to join in this morning's exploration titled, Bless All Who Mother. So I have to ask, who was it who said, you're the only one who can be the way to smooth things out, who can caress and cajole those darling infants, those adorable 2-year-olds? Only if you fit my description of what you should be. Who was it who said I couldn't walk the floor with a crying child or listen to teenage angst with great compassion? Who was it who put us in these boxes, who tried to keep things neat and tidy and took away the chance of a lifetime for some people? The chance to open our hearts in such an incredible way. Personally speaking, I mothered 6 children who were not flesh of my flesh or bone of my bone, but they had my heart. And the 2 who I did birth joined in, and so all together, they had my care, they had my attention, and they needed it as they all scrambled for a place in our family. Now, 50-odd years later, I am still being called mom. They are still my children, even though they are in their 50s and 60s with graying hair. So, who was it who said I couldn't really mother them if I didn't really birth them? Oh, pooey. Next to the dictionary definition of mother, which was a female who has borne an offspring, are the qualities attributed to that person. Having a capacity to love, having a maternal relationship, knowing how to create and care for, how to nourish, how to protect, and how to watch over. So this morning, let's take some time to think these things over, talking about these qualities. So, love, compassion, patience, kindness, listening, good humor. These are the things that are needed to mother, I think. And I especially recommend the humor. Do we have any visitors this morning? If you would feel comfortable standing up and introducing yourselves to us, we would love to meet you. It's just us folks. Okay, well, welcome. Be sure and plan a little bit of time for after the service in the fellowship hall. Now Barbara Young will play The Gift of Love, a traditional English tune set by John Carter and arranged by Hal Hofson.
Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here with us this morning. I'm Reverend Alex. I'm the minister here at UUCGT. I use he and him pronouns, and I welcome you on this Mother's Day to our service as we bless and give thanks for all of those who mother, all those who do the sacred work of mothering, even those who provide mothering support and care outside of our traditional notions of what motherhood looks like. Motherhood beyond being a biological mother. Motherhood as a term that is not exclusive to just women. The many relationships and connections that exist in which we nurture and care for one another. And so as we settle into this time together, I invite you to hear these opening words from the Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich. This day we give thanks for all the mothers and mother figures, the grandmothers, aunts, and extended family members who mother, the soon-to-be mothers, the wish they were mothers, the never wanted to be mothers, the it's complicated mothers, the birth mothers, foster mothers, adoptive mothers, stepmothers, the used-to-be dad mothers and the more than one mom mothers, the single mothers, separated mothers, stay-at-home mothers, and unhoused mothers, the grieving mothers, those who grieve their own mothers, and those whose grief is complex. For all the communities that mother and for all who depend on our great mother, the earth, you are held and you are beloved. And so come, let us worship together this morning. This is the time in our service where we light the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism and a beacon of the kinship and communion that we find when we gather together. I have some chalice lighters this morning, Liam and Riley, if you would like to come forward to light the chalice with your mom. You get to play with a little bit of fire this morning, but we'll make sure it's done safely. And as we light the chalice, I'll invite you to hear these words. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in a communion of heart and soul. And on a beautiful May morning such as this, tune in to the sound of our bowl and let it vibrate in all of your being. And listen well as you follow its invitation to continue in peace. As we move now to our opening hymn, Mother Earth, Beloved Garden, let us give thanks for the great mother that nurtures all of us. And I invite you to hear the other relationships and roles that are mentioned in this hymn, mother, father, sibling, and lover, showing us the many ways of mothering across our relationships. And so if you would, please rise in body or in spirit as we join in singing our hymn, and our words will be up here on the screen. It's also in your teal hymnal, number 1067.
Open your teal hymnal to 167. All right. It's a little tricky, so I will play it all the way through first, and then we'll leap into it. You can see.
Well, that was a wonderful story, wasn't it? Oh, my goodness. Good old Bruce. This is a writing from Kayla Parker. We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and hope. There are 3 ways to contribute. We can mail a check to the office, or we can go to the website, UUCGT.org, or we can use the Vanco mobile app. Now, as the baskets are passed for those of us in the sanctuary, join me in singing music in my mother's house. I'll start us out, and I think the words are going to go up there for the chorus, so I would love you to sing along. One of my very favorite songs, and it was true. I do have to have the words in front of me, too. There were wind chimes in the window, bells inside the clock, an organ in the corner, tunes in the music box. We sang while we were cooking, or working in the yard. We sang although our lives were really hard. There was music in my mother's house. There was music all around. There was music in my mother's house, and my heart is still full with the sound. Well, she taught us all piano, but my sister had the ear. She could play the harmony to any song she'd hear. I don't claim much talent, but I really love to play, and I will, I guess, until my dying day. There was music in my mother's house. There was music all around. There was music in my mother's house, and my heart is still full with the sound. Now there's a part here that goes la 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 la. I'd love some harmony to go along with that when it comes. Those days come back so clearly, although I'm far away. She gave me the kind of gift I love to give away. And when my mother died, and she'd sung her last song, we sat in the living room singing all night long, singing la la la, la la la, singing the front porch songs, singing the old torch songs, la la la, la la la, singing the hymns to send her home. There was music in my mother's house. There was music all around. There was music in my mother's house, and my heart still feels full with the sound. Yes, my heart still feels full with the sound. Thank you.
It is our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to hold all of the joys and concerns that touch our lives, those moments that we just know we must share with others when we are gathered, that are sometimes too much to carry just on our own. I'll be sharing some of the concerns that have been offered up for us to hold today. I also have a few joys and concerns that didn't quite make it in last Sunday's service, some that were submitted online, and we forgot to transition those over. So some of these might be a little bit old, but nevertheless, I still want to make sure that we hold them as we are gathered. If you have a joy or concern that's still a bit raw, that you don't want to share it with us in our service, I invite you to light a candle at any point over here at our little station for candles. You can also reach out to any person on our congregational care team, or simply hold it as you are held in the love of this community as we are gathered. None of us is ever meant to travel life's journey alone. And so here is what we will hold as we are gathered. From the congregational care team, we have a couple of joys and concerns, or I guess concerns. Joy and Lou Plautibors are getting better, but have had COVID even after their last booster, and they would still appreciate cards, I'm sure. Also, please keep Anne-Marie Love in your thoughts as she goes through continued treatment. From Susan Olensky, a concern for the health and well-being of Rabbi Hava Bailey. From Teresa Spihar, please send prayers and healing vibes for David Moore as he recovers from surgery. He is doing well, and we would like this to continue, so please do. From Holly Haywood, a joy and appreciation for the Transforming Hearts class, the facilitators and attendees. It is my second time round, and it continues to be nothing short of magic. Connecting on beloved community through speaking, celebrating, welcoming, and learning to make room for difference in ourselves, and with everyone, everywhere, is the type of spiritual nourishment that I cannot get enough of. For support and recognition of my son, Mike Radke, for his work on world peace this week in Tanzania. To Wanda and Jean, my two mothers, from Sylvia Walworth. And now, let us hold a space for the joys and concerns that remain on our hearts. And as we move in the stillness into a time of meditation and prayer, I invite you to take a moment to breathe deeply with me as we join our breaths together and feel this shared spirit, taking a deep breath in and out. Another deep cleansing breath in and out. Let us call to our minds a person in our lives who has been in one way, shape, or form a mother. Think about this person and hold them close in this moment. The ways that they've loved you into being, shown up for you where it counts, have nurtured you when there were times when you weren't sure anyone else would, when you even might have not believed that you yourself were worthy of such love. Spend some time with this mother in this moment. Bless this mother with your love and your intentions. Give thanks for them, holding gratitude for all that they are. If they are no longer with us, gratitude for all that they were in their life. Fill your heart with a legacy of their love and care, knowing that this love and care that they have given you is a gift to be re-gifted and shared with others. Think about how you will use this gift, who you might bless with this love and care, who could use a little more love and care in their lives. And say a blessing too for all those whose mothering relationships haven't been easy, whose relationships to their mothers feels strained, and for all those out there in our world who are without mothers and mothering figures in their lives to support them and love them into being. Let us hold gratitude and all of these gifts of mothering close, but not too close. May we find ways to give and share their gifts with the world and continue their sacred path of nurturing and loving. And for this and for all these mothers that we hold on our hearts, I say, may it be so, and amen. Please join as we now sing our hymn of response, number 123, Spirit of Life.
The reading for this morning is from Circle of Care by Lisa Bovey-Kemper. In religious community, we share our joys and our triumphs, our sorrows and our broken pieces. In this circle of care, we make space for the complexity of life, the myriad experiences that bless and break our hearts. The truth of human experience dictates that on any given day, we each come to the table with hearts in different places. It's especially so on this day, invented to honor women who nurture. And so in this circle of care, we honor the truth that mothering is not and never will be quantified in one single describe. Mother can be elusive, infuriating, fulfilling or confusing, commonplace or triumphant. It exists in everyday experiences of each person. There's no human being that's not connected to or disconnected from a mother. And so we honor the complexity of experience with large and flowered platitudes, but here in this space, laid bare, honoring the truth in each of our hearts. There is room for all in this circle. If you've carried a child or children, whether or not they came to be born, we see you. If you have fervently wished to do so and circumstances of fate made it impossible, we see you. If you love children we cannot see, whether because of death or estrangement, we see you. If you never wanted to be a mother, we see you. If you're happy to mother other people's children as an educator, an auntie, or a special friend, we see you. If your mother hurt you physically or emotionally, we see you. If you had no mother at all, we see you. If your mother is or was your best friend, we see you. If your gender says you are not a mother and yet you take on the role of nurturer, we see you. If you wonder whether your mothering has been enough, we see you. And if yours is a different truth altogether, we honor your unspoken story. There is room for all in this circle.
One of the first ministers that I ever had, funny enough, was my mom, Lucienne. My mom is someone I feel so very lucky to call my mother, and I've had so many wonderful memories growing up with her. I remember her singing to me as she would rock me in her arms, her warm hugs and affection, the ways that she listened to me and made me feel so seen and heard. Her teaching me to read with Harry Potter and other bedtime stories that just made my imagination soar. And I also remember the times, even in my later years, when she's been there for me, when I'd bring my wet eyes or a snotty nose to her sleeve, the realities of motherhood. How she'd show up for me so much, even when she was tired after a 12-hour work shift, even with so much else going on in our family's life. Knowing that we all don't have the privilege of loving, supportive mothers, I feel blessed to have had a good mother. A mother who loves me like a rock, as Paul Simon says. I think about how my mom even modeled for me what ministry was from an early age, how even as a staunch and hardcore atheist, her mothering and ministering to me was every bit spiritual and connective. I also feel lucky for how this set up the foundations for who I am and how I understand myself to be today. How lucky I feel for the many other mothers and mothering ministers in my life who have loved me into being. This is a blessing that I don't even have the words to capture, and so you're just going to have to take my word for it, that I am grateful. So today we're honoring Mother's Day in a way that opens the door for all of the many kinds of mothers and nurturers in our lives. Beyond just biological motherhood, we're centering the realities of motherhood that exist beyond. How mothering as a verb is something that goes beyond being a biological mother or even a woman. How each of us mothers and is mothered by so many. How our celebration of mothers doesn't need to be limited to those traditional ways that we think of both motherhood and mothering. And so as we recognize this day for all of those who mother, it's important to recognize how Mother's Day is a day that's not easy for all of us. Some of us didn't have loving, connective relationships with our biological mothers and parents. Some of us might not know who our biological mothers are. Those of us who have grown up in adoptive or foster homes with other kinds of mothers in their lives. On this day, there are also so many who grieve. Mothers who have lost children and children who have lost mothers. Those who long to be mothers and whose relationships to motherhood and mothering often feel very heavy. And so as we hold all of this, my hope is that we can hold one another in the midst of this heaviness, and that we might even challenge our understandings of what we know motherhood and mothering to be. What would an inclusive celebration of mothers, celebrating motherhood in all of the varied ways we witness and encounter mothering in our lives, what would all of this look like? How can we celebrate the mothers who so often go unrecognized in our society and in our wider world, who are so often forgotten or erased, especially those who face hardship and pain on this day? That is our challenge for this morning that I'll invite you to embark on with me as we endeavor to lift up and honor all of those who do this sacred work of mothering. Though before we unpack this any further, you might be interested to know the origins of Mother's Day as we know it in our world today. Surprisingly, the roots of Mother's Day can actually be traced way back to ancient Greek and Roman times, where people held festivals and celebrations for mother goddesses. Eventually, this adapted in the Christian church, where there was this tradition of Mothering Sunday in the time of the Middle Ages, a day of the fourth Sunday of Lent, where people would actually return to their mother church in their area, the main church that they would attend, for a special service and blessing. Mother's Day, with all of the flowers and cards, has origins in the United States going back to the time right after the US Civil War. Following the war, Anne Reeves Jarvis created a Mother's Friendship Day, as it was called, to promote the reconciliation of mothers on both the Union and Confederate sides. And so Anne's daughter, Anna Jarvis, was inspired by her mother to create a day to honor the sacrifices that mothers make for their children. Anna, who never had children, felt that the U.S. had many holidays that leaned toward honoring male achievements rather than celebrating the hard work and achievements of women. And so after the first few Mother's Day, many states had adopted Mother's Day to be an annual holiday by 1912. And in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson actually established Mother's Day as a nationwide holiday to occur on the second Sunday of May, that same Sunday on which we gather today. Though over time, the celebration of sacrifice of mothers grew increasingly profitable and, dare I say, commercial. Mother's Day spending exceeds $20 billion each year. $20 billion. And witnessing this growing popularity and commercialization, Anna Jarvis eventually grew to speak out against the holiday that she had actually worked so hard to establish. Mother's Day became a holiday that she no longer endorsed, noticing just how far removed it had become from its original intent. So today, we've inherited this commercialization and all of this history. We have an annual Mother's Day that is immensely profitable. Even just last year, Mother's Day spending even reached $32 billion. It's just amazing to me. Though we've inherited all of these pieces, we also have an opportunity to actually reclaim and even reframe Mother's Day beyond all the money and beyond the lines of exclusivity. We have a chance to redefine motherhood and mothering to that core idea of nurturing, no matter who it is who mothers, and no matter a person's gender identity or what their family looks like. We all know of families in our lives that look different from that magical heteronormative formula of one mother and one father. We know families that have two dads who do the work of mothering. We know families with even two moms. Families that have loved ones and caregivers that aren't related, but who are no less mothers in how they love and show up for their own. We know single parents, single mothers, and single fathers, parents who are transgender and non-binary, who exist beyond the confines of mothering and that thing that only a woman does. Even in nature, we can actually see examples of mothering beyond biological sex and gender. For example, did you know that male seahorses are the ones that actually get pregnant and carry their young? It's a fascinating courtship process where the female seahorse, after this elaborate dance with a male, transfers her mature eggs into her mate's pouch. And in this pouch, the eggs are fertilized and carried by the male seahorse until birth. And after 2 to 4 weeks, the pregnant male's abdominal area will begin to contract, and as many as 1,000 baby seahorses are released into the ocean at any given time. Pretty darn remarkable. Nature's mothers don't just stop there, though. This will be really interesting. Male emperor penguins are another species that is known to mother its young. After a female emperor penguin lays an egg, the male penguin will sit on top of the egg and incubate it, while the female will turn to the sea for food. And even after the chick hatches, the male emperor penguin keeps the chick warm and feeds it with a white liquid that is akin to milk from his esophagus, all while the female is away. And in an adorable and unlikely example of motherhood beyond gender, even beyond species, there's even a story about a naturalist named Jo Hutto who became the mother of a flock of wild turkeys. You didn't know Mother's Day also included mothering to wild turkeys. Becoming attached to Joe's movements, his sound, and his smells, Joe was the first thing that those baby poults saw and experienced, his voice and a sound of nurturing and safety. Whoever thought that a human being could go on to be the mother of a flock of wild turkeys? In another unexpected example of mothering, we see in our Time for All Ages story, Mother Bruce, a bear who loves eggs, and that led him to this unanticipated journey as the new mother of some baby geese. Those goose eggs that he collected eventually hatched into goslings, and Bruce discovers that he really is cut out to be a mother after all, even if he wasn't so thrilled at first. All of this is to say that mothering is a complex thing that actually already exists beyond both the gender binary and even beyond relationships within and across species. And so where does all of this leave us? In the end, when we celebrate mothers, we ought to celebrate all of the forms of mothering that we know are still out there. When we lift up mothers in all of their kinds and forms, we lift up mothering, fathering, nurturing, and mentoring. We lift up mothers who were once fathers and fathers who were once mothers. We lift up the mothers who are non-binary and exist outside of gender entirely. We lift up adoptive parents whose mothering is fierce and unrelenting, the single mothers and biological mothers who have cared for and nurtured their children, sometimes without help or recognition. When we give thanks for mothers, let's give thanks for all of the people in our lives who have supported us and have loved us into being. In my own life, I notice the ways that I've been mothered and even have mothered a little bit on my own. I see how, though I've often called myself a cat dad, I really ought to call myself a cat mom for my sweet cat, Lydia. Trust me, I've still got the cat hair probably all over me here to prove it. I can't begin to tell you all the many ways that she also cares for me in return. I think about the first minister and mother that I've ever known, my mother, Lucienne. I think about my adopted UU grandma, my grandma Torch with hair the color of a red onion. I think about the first openly gay teacher I ever had back in high school, my teacher Carl, who mentored me and showed me that I could really be myself, that I didn't have to reconcile my identity with loving and being loved in life. And I think about this great big neighborhood and village of parents and friends, and so many more who mothered me and supported me into the person I am today. Mothering is such a special and sacred endeavor. It is hard, it is sometimes painful and challenging, and yet it's something that makes so much of a difference in this world. And so to close, I want to invite you to go out and mother the world. Give thanks for all of those who have mothered you into being, who have loved you into the person that you are today. And after giving thanks for this great gift of their love, find a way to share their gift with the world. This world of ours so desperately needs it, even if all you do is mother and make a difference in the life of one other person. Even if you find yourself the unlikely and unexpected mother of goslings or even wild turkeys. May we all endeavor to live into this sacred work of mothering, this sacred work that calls on all of us to be the best mothers, the best people we can be. So let's go out and mother the world. Happy Mother's Day. May it be so. and amen. Let us pause now for a brief moment of stillness. And if you would now please rise in body or in spirit as we join in singing our closing hymn, number 124 in your gray hymnals, Be That Guide, and our lyrics will also be up here on the screen.
As I extinguish our chalice for today, hear these words from Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other and to the world, and to our faith. It continues until we are together again, friends. Be strong, be well, be true, and be loving.
And so in the spirit of covenant community and commitment, and in the spirit of sacred mothering, may we be made ready to serve one another and to create the world that we so desperately dream of. Go in peace all, may it be so, and amen. And before we close, I have a quick announcement that following our service today, Pam Hendrick and Chris Walter will be available following the service for a UUCGT board listening session on the proposed policy change to adding term limits to serving as a chair of a standing committee for up to 3 years. So if you have any questions or would like to discuss things further or make your thoughts known, you're welcome to join Pam and Chris following the service here in the sanctuary. Pam, would you raise your hand? Thank you. So Pam is here. And then is Chris in our room currently? Oh, there's Chris right there too. So both of them are the ones that you should find for the listening session. Our service is now at its end. Please go in peace and grow in love.